By the time something went wrong at work, everyone already knew who they were going to look at. It was Bob. It didn't matter what the issue was. A report missing a number, a client upset about a delay, a system glitch no one could explain. Somehow, it always found its way back to him. Bob wasn't careless. In fact, he was the opposite. He double-checked everything. He stayed late. He followed procedures even when others cut corners. But he had become something else without realizing it. Convenient. When people didn't want to answer uncomfortable questions, his name softened the room. When leadership needed a reason without digging too deep, he was close enough to point at. At first, Bob fought it. He kept emails, saved timestamps, replayed meetings in his head. Every accusation triggered a quiet scramble to prove his innocence. He explained himself calmly, clarified timelines, brought receipts. And every time he cleared one thing, something else appeared. It became exhausting, not the work, but the defending. He noticed how quickly conversations changed once his name was mentioned. How explanations were no longer requested, just expected. How silence followed his clarifications, as if the truth was inconvenient. What hurt the most wasn't the blame. It was how little it mattered when he spoke. Bob started to realize something unsettling. This wasn't about mistakes. It was about narrative. Once people decided who played which role, facts became optional. The more he tried to correct the story, the more energy he lost. The more he explained, the more attention stayed on him, not the issue itself. And somewhere along the way, he started to pull back. He became careful with his words, hesitant in meetings, overly polite when he should have been firm. Not because he doubted his ability, but because he was tired of being misunderstood. One afternoon, a project failed that Bob had no involvement in at all. Before anyone asked questions, his manager glanced at him. Not directly, just enough. Bob felt that familiar tightening in his chest. The urge to jump in, to defend, to correct. But this time, he didn't. He stayed quiet. Not out of defeat, but understanding. For the first time, he saw the pattern clearly. If he spoke, the spotlight would land on him. If he didn't, the room would have to look elsewhere. And it did. Questions shifted. Details emerged. The real issue surfaced. No apology followed. No acknowledgement. But something changed. Bob stopped participating in the performance. He did his work thoroughly, professionally, consistently, and let the results speak without commentary. When blame floated his way, he didn't chase it down. When assumptions formed, he didn't dismantle them piece by piece. He stayed focused, steady, unreactive, and slowly the narrative lost its grip. People who relied on his defensiveness lost interest. People who respected quiet competence noticed him differently. Bob learned something most people never do. You don't earn respect by convincing everyone you're right. You earn it by refusing to live inside accusations that were never yours to begin with. Not every story about you needs correction. Not every opinion deserves your breath. Some people will talk whether you're succeeding or struggling. Some will always need a name. And sometimes it's simply easier if it isn't theirs. But your power doesn't come from managing perception. It comes from knowing who you are when no one is writing your story. Bob didn't become louder. He didn't become cold. He didn't become arrogant. He became unmovable. And that changed everything. There's a moment when you realize that defending yourself endlessly keeps you trapped in someone else's story. Not every misunderstanding is meant to be fixed. Not every accusation is meant to be answered. Not every opinion deserves a seat at your table. When you know your integrity, you don't need to perform it. Sometimes the most powerful move is staying focused, doing your work, and letting time expose what explanations never could. Together, let's move from doubt to power, one story at a time.